and welcome to the podcast that has accidentally found itself top of the league and is now panicking like mad. It's the big man up top.
Yes, it is. Ed, this is your year.
It is.
Stoke going
City are going up. No, I'm obviously not going to say anything to that effect.
No, why not? You should enjoy this moment.
Well, because we've played 2 games and we've played a very substandard Derby County and we've played Sheffield Wednesday, who can barely string a squad together at the moment because of all the issues they're going through. So I'm not getting carried away at all.
You can only beat what's put in front of you.
That is true. And on the other hand, it does look like we're going up.
Yeah, I think so.
So we'll see. Stoke and Crewe, top of the league.
Yes, our local teams. It's a good time to be in and around Junction 16 of the M6
yes,
right
it
now.
certainly
Vibes
is.
are high. Crewe have won 3 out of 3 yet.
Massive.
First time since 1994, I believe.
So that's Crewe and Stoke with a 100% record.
Yeah.
Even this early in the season is remarkable. What have we got coming up today, Joe?
Well, you went on a little trip, didn't you, Ed?
I did.
We're going to talk about a day out you had last Friday. You went to Morecambe.
I went to the seaside.
You did?
It was lovely.
Day by the beach. Was the weather nice?
Oh, it's stunning. Beautiful day.
We are going to talk about Morecambe, the latest on its situation, and we're also going to dive a bit deeper into prayer and what that means. And we're going to talk about football, Ed. It's the first weekend of the Premier League.
Absolutely. Loads going on in the Premier League and elsewhere. But should we start with some trivia first of all, Joe?
Yeah, I reckon so.
So this is Bible Ballers. This is our quiz section of the Big Man Up Top podcast. Each of the questions have something to do with a Bible baller, Joe, which is a footballer who shares their first name with a book in the Bible.
Yeah, I think we all know what a Bible baller is.
Well,
it's a universally known...
It's a universally known thing.
Yeah.
Or it will be very soon.
One day. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah. You got last week's right, so you're 1-0 up.
Yes.
I'm ready, Joe. I'm feeling confident.
Let's do it. Often referred to as Mr. West Ham, Mark Noble played 472 times for West Ham and captained them from 2015 until the end of his career. However, in 2006, he went on loan to 2 current championship teams. Name one of them.
Oh, goodness me. Mark Noble. So the truth is I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
So it is pure guesswork at this stage, pure vibe-based guesswork at this stage.
I appreciate your honesty.
He feels... Does he see, the thing is I first thought he felt very West Brommy, but actually, I think what it is, I think I should maybe focus on London sides.
Maybe London, yeah.
Maybe,
you wouldn't want to travel too far.
A lot to do, because 2006, he's still going to be very young.
Still a young guy.
Yeah, so
London is all he knows.
I'm going to have to think of some championship clubs based in and around London is my thinking.
All right, that's a good idea. I'll give you the rest of the episode to have a think.
Thanks, Joe. The Premier League is back, Joe.
It is, Ed. What a time.
What a time. Some big results, some shock results, some absolutely not shock results as well. I
don't think it was an all-time classic weekend. I don't know about you.
I don't know, because I do remember like some years you've kind of gone, and it definitely wasn't that. There was a lot of goals scored. I think we should start with where the Premier League has been saved, Joe, which is the Stadium of Light.
It's Sunderland. They've saved us all from the impending doom.
Tell us why Sunderland have saved the Premier League, Joe.
Sunderland beat West Ham 3-0. Quite a kind fixture, but a great win for them. They looked brilliant, I thought. Did you watch it?
Yes, I did. And so, for context, all the chat going into the season was about these 3 promoted sides who were not going to do anything. And actually, Sunderland just not only showed why they deserve to be in the Premier League, but actually looked a cut above West Ham, didn't they?
This was such a throwback to, like, when you go to a promoted club on the opening weekend and it was always, it's a tricky fixture. You don't want a promoted club on the first day away. The atmosphere was brilliant.
Electric at the Stadium of Light. Yeah.
And it was just a real throwback to a hard place to go. It just felt inevitable. As soon as Sunderland started to grow into the game, I think West Ham realised, we've got a game on our hands here. And great result.
I think, first of all, it'd be worth touching on West Ham. They didn't have a great end to the season last year. And obviously, you're sort of looking at West Ham as really needing to start the season well. Otherwise, they could, one of those teams that could sleepwalk their way into a relegation battle.
It's so important not to to judge everything off the first weekend.
We'll say that about 6 times.
Yeah, we
today,
will,
won't
but
we?
we're absolutely going to try and do that. But it just feels so similar to last season, where they've got Lopetegui in, and they're already... I don't think West Ham fans are convinced by Graham Potter.
No.
And you're right, they could end up sleepwalking into relegation. That decision to get rid of David Moyes is looking more and more strange, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of fans did turn on him towards the end. It was kind of that vibe of, thank you for where you've brought us, but we'll find someone to take it from here. I think that's looking more and more foolish.
I don't necessarily mean this in a disparaging way, but they're a very proud supporter base. They have high standards for what they expect. They expect to play good football and to be competitive. And the second that they're not, you do see them turn on managers quite quickly. They certainly have in the past, and it seems like, you know, if we maybe have sort of a few weeks of more football like we saw at the weekend, it's not gonna end well for Potter.
No, and I think they have every right to be quite frustrated, actually, because they won their first ever European trophy a few years ago, and that should be a moment where you kick on. And they tried to recruit last summer, brought in some signings that, on paper, should be really good. They signed James Ward-Prowse. They've signed Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who actually has looked like one of their best players over the last couple of seasons, but it's just not gelling. I think their midfield looks really sluggish, and Sunderland just found it way too easy to play through them.
Speaking of recruitment, Sunderland have recruited well, haven't they?
They've signed Xhaka, we spoke about last week.
Absolute key Sunderland signing. For me, like, if you could pick a club for Granit Xhaka to be at, Sunderland feels about fantastic. Right, doesn't it? And especially seeing the stadium rocking as it was, the thought I had is, I can't wait for the derby. That's instantly what I thought.
I think it feels right for them to be back in the Premier League. I think everyone is delighted by this result, apart from West Ham and probably Newcastle fans. I think we were all desperate to see this happen this weekend, and let's hope it continues, I think.
Speaking of desperate to see something happen, Wolves losing 4-0 at home. Sorry, that's my Potteries bias coming out there. Man City winning 4-0 away at Wolves. This one I felt like we needed to touch on because City just looked scarily good, didn't they? There was a bit of a question mark over them. You know, they weren't great. Obviously, last year had their issues, sorted it out towards the end, but there was still this big, what are they going to be like? They've signed a few interesting looking players, let's see, and they were dominant against Wolves. Yeah,
they look like City of old. They look refreshed and they look up for it. I think last season they were starting to get a little bit stale and we're going through the motions. It wasn't quite working. They just look really fired up for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Some scarily good players, some outstanding signings. Let's talk about Reinders. He felt like the difference maker, didn't he?
He looks creative. He looks so good on the ball. That little pass for their first goal was delightful. A little chip over the defence to Rico Lewis. He looks a really good player, really creative. Cherky as well, coming off the bench and scoring. He's a great signing. I feel like they've gone about their business really early on in the window.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had the Club World Cup that they wanted to sign players for, but that's just really helped bed them in. I think this could have gone either way. That the Club World Cup could either make them tired or help with the gelling process. And I think you're seeing signs of the latter.
And also Erling Haaland again, that whole thing, he's just sort of quietly got 2 goals again, didn't he?
He scored again on the opening weekend, and I think he looks ready.
Yeah.
He looks like a absolute monster.
A man possessed, doesn't he?
Yeah, you could see when he scored how much it meant to him, and I think it just feels like their year.
Well, speaking of teams scoring 4 at the top of the table, Liverpool, of course, champions, your team, Joe, beating Bournemouth 4-2 on Friday. What did you make of this one?
Well, firstly, we should probably mention the incident with Antoine Semenyo. Obviously, there was some horrible scenes of seeing him get some racial abuse from a fan in the Liverpool stands. We hate to see that. And I think it was nice to see that actually it didn't affect his game. It almost spurred him on, maybe.
Yeah.
And to see him go on and score 2 goals was such a testament to his character after something like this. But this was probably the game of the weekend, actually, in terms of entertainment value. It was an uncomfortable watch for a Liverpool fan, I'll tell you that. Last season felt like Liverpool were so good at controlling games.
Yeah.
I think their defence was really strong. Arne Slot was a master tactician, and it was quite easy watching Liverpool last year, knowing that they knew how to see out games. And to lose a 2-0 lead will not please him at all.
No. But, I mean, ultimately, it's that thing, we spoke about the character of champions. Liverpool, Man City, those kind of teams seem to have it in spades. Other teams like Arsenal have maybe struggled in that department. But Liverpool, ultimately, you lose 2 goals, lose a 2-0 lead, you've got to be able to dust yourself off and crack on, and that's exactly what they did. Lovely goal from Chiesa at the end.
Such a nice moment for him. He's absolutely adored by Liverpool fans. For someone who's not done much, he just seems to have captured the adoration of Liverpool fans. And this was such a lovely moment to see him score that goal. Great finish.
Great technique.
Great knee slide.
Yeah.
As well. I thought he absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely. A word on Bournemouth. How do we think they did? I thought they played quite well.
Yeah.
They've obviously had their issues over the summer.
I think it was encouraging for sure. I think that the biggest win for them this summer has been keeping their manager. I think you could easily see a scenario where Iraola goes to Spurs. I'd imagine there's going to be other teams sniffing around him in the future as well. So to keep hold of him has been massive, especially when losing 4 members of such a good defence last season. They lost Kirkez, Huijsen, Zabarnyi, and their keeper, Kepa, was on loan. So they have taken quite a hit at the back. And this new defence is going to take time to gel, but going forward, they're a counter-attacking team. They exploited Liverpool really well on the counter, and I think there was plenty of positives.
Have you changed your mind about Liverpool not winning the title after 1 week?
No. Absolutely not.
No, okay. Well, I'll check in again with you at Christmas. So speaking of Spurs, though, Spurs with a great start to Thomas Frank's reign.
They look brilliant.
Yeah, they look fantastic.
I watched a bit of them in the Super Cup in midweek. I think they'll be disappointed with that result, how it panned out. But you are playing PSG, who are quite clearly the best team in Europe. But I think going forward, they look fantastic. Kudus is a great signing. There's talk they're in for Eze as well, which would be brilliant. Richarlison
looked like a completely different player. He's obviously had a great summer, hasn't he?
And a great goal. Second goal, his overhead kick it just felt a really significant game for him. I think Thomas Frank said in an interview that he loves to have 2 world-class strikers. He's got Dominic Solanke, and you almost think he'd want someone else in alongside him. So this was a perfect moment for Richarlison to stake his claim with 2 goals. We do have to say, obviously, they played Burnley, who I really fear for this season. I think, again, they've lost some quite key defenders. Egan Riley was a big part of their defence last year, as was James Trafford. And they've lost both of them.
A 3-0 away defeat to Spurs in your first game. I personally wouldn't see a great deal in it if they can bounce back, if they can make sure that they are picking up plenty of points at home. They'll be okay. But you're right. It's going to be very interesting to see how and where they pick up teams, I think, this year.
Yeah, and there's a lot on Scott Parker to do that. I think he's not at all a proven Premier League manager. He's proven he can do it in the Championship twice now with Fulham and with Burnley. This has to be his time in the Premier League.
United. A very interesting game, wasn't this, on Sunday? United losing 1-0 at home to Arsenal. But in a sort of a performance that they'll be quite happy with, and on the flip side, Arsenal winning, but not massively convincingly.
Yeah, I think Arsenal continuing to do their tribute act to Stoke City. I think you'll be quite pleased to see. But yeah, a strange scenario where Man United actually looked really good going forward and will be disappointed with the result.
Well, let's touch on that. What was it about United's performance particularly that stood out to you? For me, it was the new signings and how well they played.
Oh, 100%. It was Cunha and Mbeumo particularly up top. Just looked really good on the ball, looked really direct, which I don't think they've had for a couple of seasons now. I think Højlund and Xerxes, it didn't work. I think Xerxes still got a chance. I think he's a good player, but he's not the kind of player that United need right now. I think Cunha and Mbeumo are 2 players that back themselves. and very direct. They will run at the goal and just really terrorise the Arsenal defence.
And I think for me, what seemed to work in the way that Amorim had set the team up is that Fernandes is behind Cunha and Mason Mount and Mbeumo, and he just looked like he had sort of an embarrassment of riches in front of him in terms of movement, in terms of pace, in terms of technique as well. And sometimes it's felt like Fernandes is sort of doing all that on his own, and actually he had plenty around him. Great performances also, we have to add from the wing backs, from Dalot and from Dorgu, both playing really great as well, creating a lot of width for United. And I know a lot of United fans love a winger, and a few occasions whipping crosses into Mbeumo, and you think, oh great, this feels like when Rooney was in the box all those years ago.
Yeah, it's not something they've seen for a while. And to add Sesko into this equation, who is an absolute giant, he's so tall. That's only going to excite United fans more. And I think that for me is what felt different about this is, and again, first game of the season, your fans are always going to be up for it. There's renewed optimism, but it felt like the atmosphere around United was a bit different this year, a bit more like, we're a bit more of a serious team. And I backed them to have a good season. There's no European football for them, which is kind of a blessing in disguise for a team like United, and they're going to be pushing for Europe, I think, this season.
The fans have bought into the Amorim project as well. Let's touch on Arsenal. Somehow getting the 3 points, and yet not really convincing. It was a goalkeeper error for the first goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, not entirely convincing at all. I think if it wasn't for David Raya, they wouldn't have won this game. He had a great game. Looked a bit shaky at the back. Again, having players run at them. I thought Saliba was quite poor in this game. Someone that you can generally rely on a lot. They've got a new striker. They've got a new number 6 in Zubimendi. It's going to take time to gel. I wouldn't be too worried for them, but I wouldn't say I was excited by this Arsenal team.
Can we talk about the goal?
Sure.
What did you make of the goal? Because I've got a bit of a hot take.
Give your hot take.
Well,
Ed. Sure.
I think a lot of the conversation has been about the United goalkeeper Altai and this howler that he's dropped, where basically the corner's been swung in. It's been swung straight at him, and he's definitely been weak as he's jumped up to try and punch it. He's made a meal of it, and he's almost effectively punched it into his own net. Calafiori's got a head on it. I think it was a foul. It is true he needs to be stronger, but you can see the defender, I think it was Saliba, is moving into him, and as he's coming to, for starters, Mason Mount was put up against Saliba. Terrible decision
Not
there.
ideal.
But I just think that if you've got a player who's moving into the goalkeeper as he's jumping up to catch the ball, that feels like a foul for me.
I tend to agree with you, not purely from a biased point of view against Arsenal, though I don't know who I wanted to win this game at all.
Yeah, if they could both lose, you'd have been happy.
Ideal. I think there's a foul in there somewhere, whether that's on Altai or Mason Mount. I think there's definitely something going on. I think it's interesting that the conversation around this is Altai needs to be stronger and more commanding, but if he's being blocked by players, surely that is a foul.
Let's move over to Forest, who picked up where they left off last season.
Yeah, I don't think Forest have made too many friends over the summer with some of their antics. Yeah. I think particularly Mr. Marinakis has certainly rubbed a few people up the wrong way. But it felt like Forest were definitely everyone's favourite second team last season. Really exciting to watch, great on the counter. And more of the same in this game. I think they looked, again, really good. I was really impressed with Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White in the middle.
Yeah.
Elliot Anderson's assist for the third goal. Have you seen that?
It was fantastic.
Oh,
yeah.
Assist of the season.
And Chris Wood just proving himself to be everybody's favourite FPL striker, hence why he's in my team.
Yeah.
The classic big man up top. There's definitely room for them, Joe.
There is. I think Chris was just one of those classic strikers that you're like, surely he's done now.
Yeah.
Like, I think going into the season, I certainly was like, they need to replace him.
They need to upgrade.
He had a great season last year. He's not going to do it anymore.
That second goal you mentioned, my favourite thing about that is as soon as Chris Wood's clean through on goal, you're thinking all day he's just going to hit it early, he's going to drill it past the keeper. And he decided to go round the goalkeeper like a young Ryan Giggs. This is what we want,
Yeah,
amazing stuff.
It was great to see, very nimble footwork. I do fear for Brentford as well. And I, in particular, I feel for Quiveen Kelleher. I wonder if he's made a wise choice.
Doesn't feel good, does it?
He didn't have a particularly good game. He wasn't particularly commanding, coming up against the best striker in the Premier League. He's not particularly had a great start to his Brentford career.
And obviously, he's had so many years at Liverpool where he has always played with a pretty solid defence in front of him, to now go to a side that on paper looks like they're going to be towards the bottom end of the table this year. It could be a tricky one for him.
And he does have a mistake in him as well. When he deputised for Alisson for Liverpool a few times, he's quite small in stature actually, and when you see him come for a cross, you don't particularly have confidence that he's going to claim it. And I think teams are going to start to wise up to that.
Can we touch on some new rules that we've seen this year, Joe? It was one of those lovely moments. I feel like you always get this opening weekend or two, and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, that rule that we forgot that they actually put in." But we saw one of them. I'm assuming this is a new rule. It feels like something I've not seen before. But we saw one of them in the Chelsea game where Eze had a goal chalked off for Crystal Palace, didn't he?
Yeah. So apparently this rule's actually been in place since 2019.
So tell us about Rule 13.
Rule 13, as we all know, is when a free kick is struck, if there's a wall of at least 3 players,
right?
If there's any opposing player within 1 metre as the ball is struck,
right,
the free kick is null and void.
You think you'd have seen something like this before? Because I feel like seeing players run towards walls happens all the time.
Yeah. I think this is terrible for football that this has happened, because the amount of videos you're now going to have of fans saying he's less than a metre when the free kick struck. It's going to happen.
There was another new rule, wasn't there, Joe, with goalkeepers and the amount of time they're allowed to hold the ball for?
Yeah, well, I'm actually a big fan of this rule.
As am I.
It's an 8-second countdown from the referee. If a goalkeeper holds the ball for longer than 8 seconds, the opposite team gets rewarded a corner.
Yeah.
And we saw it happen in the Spurs-Burnley game.
This sounds great. There's a whole thing about, well, we've all seen it. The goalkeeper gets the ball, collapses to the floor. Yeah. But it's from the moment they stand up, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it's from when they have control, maybe.
Yeah. So there's a bit of leeway. They're allowed to sort of get ready. But from that moment, they have 8 seconds to release the ball, which is sort of quicker than you'd think. And I think you can have those moments where goalies all of a sudden have it for 30 seconds. You're like, oh, come on, we're going to be here all day otherwise. So I think, I'm with you. I think it's a really great rule. Well, there was other stuff going on in the Premier League, but I think it's good for us to move on. Can we talk about the Championship, Joe?
Is that because Stoke are top of it?
Yes, I'm ready to talk about Stoke now, because this is the only time I'm going to get to do this all year.
We're making the most of it, aren't we?
We are. Stoke winning 3-0 away at beleaguered Sheffield Wednesday. They played really well in this one. They were 1-0 up within a minute, which was unfortunate for Sheffield Wednesday because they started a protest. It was a whistling protest. Yeah. I mean, there's conversations around whether that's a particularly good protest or not.
Constant whistling.
Yeah. So there'd been a protest where they had walked. They'd had a funeral for the club, and in quotation marks.
I think that's a bit much.
And walked a coffin, I think, to the ground or something.
United did that.
United did a similar one.
That's a bit much for me.
But I think I think Stoke fans went in numbers and were ready for the game to be abandoned. That was a lot of the discussion. Was that there were, they were going to maybe try and run onto the pitch and to abandon the game. And I think Stoke fans broadly were very, we'd do the same thing if it was our club. And, we could understand that. But yes, within the first minute of this whistling protest, Million Manhoof put Stoke 1 up, it sort of all went a little bit downhill from there. But again, another goal from Manhoof to seal it, and the second goal was scored by Divine Mubama, who has scored for 2 games in a row now. The new striker, Sorba Thomas again setting up goals as well. It feels very exciting at Stoke. I'm not going to lie.
There's a positive atmosphere around
a positive atmosphere. We're playing very well. We're still signing players as well. So yeah.
Has there been any noticeable changes in tactics or the way Mark Robbins is running the club? Or
not particularly. I think the thing was that last year under Robbins we definitely became more sturdy. And then I think that the question was could we add some creative flourish and some goals ultimately to that stability? And that's what, 6 goals in the first 2 games. You sort of think, well, maybe we have. And also exciting times in that we've just announced a new badge, Joe.
Oh, that is exciting.
Yes.
Talk us through the new badge.
Well, it basically looks like Brentford's old badge.
Okay.
But it's a take on an old badge in Stokes history from the 70s and 80s.
There's a pretzel on it?
No, that's the Staffordshire knot.
Fine.
That is, yes. Along with a pottery kiln.
Yeah, strong.
A lot of the complaints about our current badge was that there was no identity to Stoke-on-Trent.
No pottery.
It was red and white stripes and it had blue on it because of the Icelandic consortium that took us over, and blue had never been a part of our colours historically. So we've gone back to red and white with black and gold.
We've got our badge back.
We've got our badge back, yes. And it was voted on by supporters, so theoretically everybody's happy. If you go on Twitter, nobody is happy.
No one's happy on Twitter, full stop.
There you go. So let's move away from Stoke, unfortunately, and go to Derby and Coventry. This finished 5-3 to Coventry, a massive away win for them. I don't know if you caught this one, Joe. It's the kind of scoreline where you go, oh gosh, this sounds like an end-to-end. It was just chaos.
Yeah.
There was sort of no real flow to the game, and there was just like, oh, they've scored again. Someone else has scored again, and it was absolutely bizarre. Derby will, I think, feel a little bit aggrieved because they weren't good against Stoke in the first week. Got 3 goals at home, and so you're thinking, okay, well, sometimes that's all you can ask for, is that we're scoring goals. But yeah, just an absolute nightmare at the back, and Coventry finding themselves picking up a really good away win.
Frank Lampard's Coventry coming from behind, of course, to win this. And what I noticed about this game, a lot of long throws going on.
Yes,
which we love to see.
Yeah, we certainly do. It's becoming a bit of a thing, isn't it?
It's coming back.
It's fashionable again.
Football is back, Ed.
The whole thing is, it's just cyclical, isn't it, Joe?
So Ed, last week on the podcast we had a conversation with Martin Bateman, who is a friend of the podcast and a chaplain of Morecambe FC. Now they were in a particularly sticky situation. Why don't you quickly talk us through what's been going on at Morecambe?
Yeah, so if you've missed the conversations, basically for the last couple of months they've been embroiled in a real crisis. So the club has been financially very much under the cosh. They have struggled to pay players, pay staff, pay outstanding bills to HMRC. And they were at the point where the current owner, Jason Whittingham, was trying to sell the club and had come to an agreement with a consortium called Punjab Warriors to sell the club. Everything all seemed to be fine. And then what happened was, seemingly he just didn't hand the club over. He didn't provide the documentation and the paperwork and the signatures and all that to hand the club over. The consortium were ready to buy. And essentially this thing just sort of kept rumbling on over the summer, to the point where the league was not satisfied that it could continue to operate, and it couldn't fulfill its fixtures, and they were suspended from the league, and they've had their first 3 games postponed. And there is a hearing on Wednesday where they were going to... essentially their fate is going to be decided, whether they're allowed to remain in the league or not. Now, last week, after we did the episode where we touched on it and we spoke to Martin, Martin let us know that they were having a prayer walk at Morecambe Stadium. So this was Friday.
And you decided to take a little trip up the M6, is it?
Did.
Is it up the M6?
Yes, it's up the M6. I got in my car and I went to sunny Morecambe.
Why don't you talk us through the day? Like, what did you expect going up there?
Well, I think that's the thing, is I honestly didn't expect anything at all. So everyone was gathering outside the stadium. Martin was leading the effort, but in attendance with him was Jill Duff, the Bishop of Lancaster, and Philip North, the Bishop of Blackburn, and also lots of other Christian leaders from around the region, representing all denominations, traditions, and then lots of supporters, lots of Christians, even some non-Christians as well. And the idea was that we were going to pray for Morecambe, we're going to pray for the club, pray for the city, pray for the people involved. And so Martin led us on a bit of a guided tour around the stadium, into the dressing rooms and to the pitch side and around the ground, finishing in the club's memorial garden, which they had installed last year. and yeah, everybody prayed for the club, and it was a really, really remarkable experience.
I'm interested to know, you say that everyone prayed for the club. What kind of things were we actually praying for in this situation?
The prayers specifically, first and foremost, were for the people involved, and that this would get resolved. The situation would be resolved for them. There was also a lot of prayers for the city of Morecambe, for the town of Morecambe, because as everybody knows, football clubs are not just football clubs. They are community assets. They are part of these thriving places. And then amazingly, there was prayers for the leaders in this situation, for the likes of Jason Whittingham and the current owners, that they would do right by the club, they would do right by the fans and the players, but crucially that we would not foster any kind of atmosphere of hate, and that there was that we could offer and extend love and grace to all involved. I've got a couple of clips, Joe, if you'd like to have a listen. I had the privilege of speaking with Pastor Stephen Hewitt, who's a Baptist minister in the area, and he told me about why it's so important to balance that justice element with that idea that we need to be praying for our enemies as well.
A couple of years ago, for 2 years when we were in League One, me and my son had a season ticket, so we travel all home games and quite a few away games. And when you came here, especially at League One when we were getting really good crowds, there was a real sense that this was where the town was. You've got people from all different spheres of life coming from the villages around. Everybody was gathering here. This was then and has continued to be a place where the community of Morecambe gathers. It's going through a real time of, I don't know, there is a sense of grief. We should have been playing. We should be playing football now. We're not. So there's a sense of loss. So when those things are happening, the community's hurting. Where else should pastors be? They should be where people are hurting.
We were encouraged to not see the people in this case as villains or figures of hate. Yeah. Could you just expand on why that is so important for Christians? Because this is a very emotive subject, isn't it?
Yeah. I was trying to get to the challenge of Jesus to love our enemies. And clearly in today's day and age, irrespective of social media, football is a very passionate sport. It builds up a lot of passion, some of them unnecessarily. Let's be honest, we can get wound up by it, positively and negatively. Then if you throw in all these emotions around people making decisions that we can't control, I think that's been one of the hardest things. Decisions are being made about something that matters to us that are out of our control. And when that happens to us, the danger is because we can't do anything about it, we villainize the people. And Jesus says, love your enemies. So in whatever sphere of our lives as Christians, we have to seek to be different for Christ, and that seems to be what we're called to do right now.
I think that is incredibly powerful, that whole conversation around don't see these people as your enemies. In football, we are so quick to find that enemy, aren't we? That person to blame, whether that is an owner, whether that's a manager, whether it's a player. We're so quick to do that. What an incredible opportunity as Christians to be like, you know what, actually, rivalry and hatred isn't working. It's not worth it in this situation. We can stand out and be a bit different.
Absolutely. And I think that it was sort of one of the real sort of themes of the day, was this idea of, we need to be approaching this issue differently because we are people of faith. Somebody else that I spoke to, which I think he gave a really interesting answer was Philip North, the Bishop of Blackburn. I asked him, what is the point of us doing this? We're walking around this. Is this just symbolic, or actually is there something more to us gathering to pray outside a stadium?
Jesus says, ask and you shall receive. God hears prayers and God answers prayer. So, there might be people inside this building working away on deals, but it's prayer that changes stuff. It's prayer that moves the cosmos. Prayer is the superpower that makes everything possible. And, I think there's been many people who've despaired of the future of this club, but anything can be achieved through prayer. So this gathering in Christians to pray for this club and this town, God's going to hear that and God's going to answer those prayers. It's not just a leisure pursuit. The football clubs hold something of the identity of these Lancashire towns, and their service to their communities is vital, and the employment they offer and and the joy they bring. So these Lancashire towns without their football teams, it's a really sad thing. And yet because of the model we have in which football clubs are owned, they're marketised, they're commodities, they go from owner to owner, they're distanced from their fans, they're fragile. And Morecambe without his football club would be a tragedy. So it's been fantastic for so many Christians to come together to pray for the future of this club, to pray for a smooth transfer of ownership, and to pray that this can once again be the really joyful family club that it is, bringing all ages together and serving the people of Morecambe.
I think it's quite clear that he is someone who really believes in the power of prayer.
Yeah.
And he has absolutely no doubt that praying for this is going to work. Now, what place do you think prayer has in football? Because I think often we can minimise football down to it's just a game, particularly people who maybe aren't as invested in it. Oh, it's just a game. There's other things out in the world that we should be focusing our prayers on. However, off the back of this situation, what are your reflections on that?
My first thought is that still, I don't believe that prayer is, for example, going to necessarily change football results.
Sure,
so, look,
sure.
I've prayed a long time for Stoke to be top of the Championship.
It's finally come to fruition. Maybe it's because you went to the prayer walk at Morecambe.
Maybe if we can organise another one, Martin, next week, that'd be great. But I think that, I think, is God in the business of answering prayers when I am just selfishly asking for him, to him for my team to do well? I don't believe so, no. But I think that you can look at prayer as a few different things. You can either look at it as this, well, it's a symbolic thing, and or it's a self-reflective thing as well, or you can actually look at it as no, this is something that actually does something, that prayer does work and prayer does change situations. And so I think when we're thinking of football clubs, not just as a collection of a few people that gather around a bit of grass on a Saturday, but actually is something much bigger than that. I think we can pray for our football clubs.
It's looking beyond the kind of material aspects of this, the results, the league table finishes. What this kind of allows us to do is become part of the petition, doesn't it? The ability to pray with other people. And it's that kind of thing of intercessory prayer, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we are joining together to pray for this one common purpose. It's fostering a sense of community, and it's making you build relationships with people who you are then able to look back and be like, oh, look what God has done there. What I love is what you said about there being non-Christian people there at the prayer walk. Tell us about that.
As people started to disperse, somebody shouted up to the whole group. There was probably about 60 people there, I reckon, and somebody shouted up and just said, can I thank you all for coming? I'm not a person of faith, but I wanted to come here today to be a part of this, and he was so moved that people would come to Morecambe to pray for the prosperity of his football club, and I just, there was something really special about that. Obviously this man is so desperate that he'd be willing to go to a prayer walk even though he isn't a Christian to pray for his club, and I thought that was deeply profound.
Really profound. And it's that sense of feeling a part of it as well. And how incredible would it be that out of this situation this man has been introduced to Jesus and the power of prayer,
or at the very least just had his mind and heart opened up to the prospect that there is a God who wants to communicate with him. Because that's what I think prayer is. Sometimes we can overcomplicate prayer. We can overcomplicate it as we need to say these words in the right way, and if we don't say amen at the end, it doesn't work, and all that. And actually, prayer is just a conversation. It's a bit of a cliche, but it is. It's just a conversation with our Heavenly Father, and he hears our joyous outbursts just as he hears the sighs and cries of our soul as well. One of my favourite verses in Philippians 4 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be known to God." And it's basically just saying, I mean, it's, that's quite a strong opening statement. Do not be anxious about anything. Well,
all right then.
All right, fine. But actually what it's just saying is that, for things that you may be feeling anxious about, don't hold them in yourself. Bring them to God and bring your requests to God. I think there are a lot of people, a lot of Christians in that part of the world now who are very anxious about where their club is going and where it might go, where it might end up. And they are taking that anxiety and they're giving it to Jesus. And I think that's a really important thing.
And we're going to release a bit of an extended episode about this Morecambe situation, aren't we?
Yeah, because I got a few more interviews, Joe, and just took some recordings of the day in general. And I was initially planning to just maybe bring one interview to this conversation, and I've got about 15 minutes worth of content, Joe. So
we may as well use it.
We may as well use it. So we're going to be releasing on the feed a little special package, talking about this prayer day and also the situation at Morecambe, because it is still evolving. We record this on a Monday, and there's been some exciting news that's come out over the weekend about this takeover being completed. But on Wednesday of this week is the big hearing for them, and we will find out what their fate ultimately is. And so, keeping our fingers crossed for a good situation. But yes, keep an eye out on your feed for my little trip to Morecambe.
Ed's day out.
Ed's day out.
So Ed, how are you getting on with my Mark Noble question?
Well, not great, to be honest, Joe. I still have no more than... Well, I don't have an inkling at all. So this is pure guess.
Shall I read it to you again?
Go for it.
Often referred to as Mr. West Ham, Mark Noble played 472 games for West Ham and captained the club from 2015 until the end of his career. However, in 2006, he went on loan to 2 current championship teams. Name one of them.
I'm going with this thought that it's likely going to have been a London-based club, potentially, in and around London. You said current championship clubs as well, so that sort of part of me thought Fulham, but obviously not current championship club. I'm going to go for Millwall.
Millwall.
Yes.
The London thing was futile.
Oh,
Ed,
come on!
I'm afraid he was loaned to Hull City by manager Alan Pardew in 2006 to get some game time. Sadly, he only made 5 appearances due to an injury in his lower back. He then, in August 2006, the next season, went on loan to Ipswich Town.
Oh, Ipswich Town.
Where he scored his first professional goal.
Well, that was a good question, Joe. Thank you. I think I was never going to get that. Well, that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for listening to The Big Man Up Top. If you want to get in touch with the show, please ping us an email to podcasts@ucb.co.uk. Make sure you follow, subscribe, give us all the lovely good reviews, and this will help us to get the word out, Joe, won't it?
It will.
Also, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. A few people have been checking that out and getting in touch, sending us comments, all that lovely stuff. Send us comments. So you can find all that at youtube.com/@BigManUpTopPod. And also, we have the Big Man Up Top Premiership, Joe.
We do. I was interested that you set this up and called it Premiership.
Yes.
Is there a reason behind that?
Well, because it's the classic name, I think. Premiership. Feels very, back in the day.
Sure.
No? Okay, this is our FPL Fantasy League, so you can check out the show notes and all of the details of the FPL League are in there. Come and join us, albeit you are a week late, so you've got, but if you back yourself, you can make that ground up.
I've had a bad week.
Joe's had a bad week, he's near the bottom, I'm near the top, so happy days all round. But yes, a huge thank you to our producer Anthony for all of his hard work behind the scenes, and there'll be a new episode next Tuesday, along with the Morecambe special that's going to come out later this week, won't there, Joe?
Yes, see you then.
See you later.